Hey everybody, I can't do this. What if they make fun of me?
You must. Metalheads, welcome to Graphic Metal, where metal is celebrated with design in mind. Metallica's latest disc, 72 Seasons, was released a year ago on April 14th. I wanted to revisit the album, give my thoughts a year later, and most importantly, reimagine it graphic metal style. The merch and designs for them will be available on the Graphic Metal store description below. And on that subject matter, the shirt that I'm wearing. It's an extra special one. Felt like it was fitting because not only is it Metallica oriented, but it's the very first design I made under the moniker of Graphic Metal Project back in 2008. It was to honor the great Cliff Burton. Oh, rest in peace, Cliff. Miss ya. We all miss ya. Oh, man. Anywho, it still gets a little emotional, even after all these years, and first, it never should have been titled 72 Seasons. The concept is perfectly fine, which we'll unpack in a moment. But as an album title, 72 Seasons is incredibly weak and presents little feeling. Worth noting, though, that James, who originally intended to call it Lux Eterna, which is Latin for eternal light, and was the first single released, but he was ultimately vetoed by the rest of the band, who wanted to go with something a little bit more, well, chewable and mysterious and vague. I personally don't think either of them are great. In the case with Lux Eterna, I agree actually with the rest of the band. Let's be honest, probably Ulrich, where it's not the easiest to digest, pronunciate, or, quite frankly, to have used in branding and design. Probably debated about the idea of using Eternal Light, the English translation, right? Calling the album via the literal representation would have lost the most important thing, which was that hidden message that they were trying to go for. All right, but what about the version that they went with, 72 Seasons? I think it's safe to say that people overwhelmingly do not like it. Yes, from a design perspective, it was great because it allowed them to do all sorts of graphical elements with it. Okay, so if not Lux Eterna or 72 Seasons, then what? Well, I say the answer was staring right in front of them. You must burn. Why? First, let's revisit the concept again. By the way, 72 Seasons came from a book James read when it was about childhood and learning how to process like childhood events as an adult. It's like coping or reflecting mechanism of how you were affected, right, by your childhood and how you cope with it. Back to why I believe it should have been titled You Must Burn is for three distinct reasons. First of all, it already is one of the songs on the album, so it checks off that box, right, which they prefer. Two is it also checks off the branding, marketing, and design boxes too, as Let It Burn obviously would have been extremely powerful of an attention grabber, easy to remember, digest pronunciate and would have allowed for all sorts of wickedly fun ways to use it even on tour. And last but not least, which I think is actually the most powerful reason of all, is that it fits the theme, what James and the band was trying to do. Remember, the message was eternal light, or more descriptively, finding light within the darkness of coping with your childhood. They wanted to have not a literal, but an abstract representation, right? A hidden meaning, so to speak. To me, this fits perfectly. Some could have interpreted it in the most literal way, which is to like bury your past in order to strengthen your present self, or simply that being a kid is tough, right? So it could have been more an abstract way, which is to associate the title and meaning to represent like a phoenix. The sun ignites a nest and the old phoenix dies and a new one is risen, right? Third is that it could have been an interpretation of, in the song, which is Bernie, which I think could have been also perfect because, when you think of, a witch burning, you also think of like basically that you don't belong in quote unquote society, that you're abnormal, or that you're an aristocrat, a misfit, right? Which they have always considered themselves to be. And I'll even throw in a bonus reason, because it's fucking metal, man. I mean, how can you get more metal than that title, right? You must. There's no light! Is another big criticism that I had with the album. Not only was it poorly titled, but it was also poorly designed. Again, the concept is perfectly fine. Turner and Company, the design agency. I don't even know exactly to what extent they were involved, because the way that they described it, it was a little bit kind of vague as far as how much they actually were involved. But they have been the agency now for quite some time. I experience this all the time. You can have great ideas, but that doesn't mean that they're going to translate well. Whether that's because you can't find the right deliverable means, or because not well executed, or just because it's a great idea, but it doesn't, show itself that well. Looking at the cover artwork, I love the bold decision to be all yellow. It's also a color that they haven't really explored too much, so kudos to that. I also, finally, I've been waiting for Metallica to do this with a brand that's as iconic as theirs is. They have for a while had the opportunity to bypass the full logo and focus more on the actual artwork. Now, don't get me wrong, we all love the Metallica logo. However, again, it's an opportunity to let the artwork shine. So choosing to just go with the M also was very smart. Now, as far as the concept also, it fits, but it's just too literal, right? Like this is too much. For Pete's sakes, didn't they literally themselves say they didn't want to, or they wanted to avoid being too literal? Did you even look at the cover design? I mean, if that's not literal, I don't know what is. Look, I too love the idea of setting random objects on fire. But a crib, let alone a broken crib. I thought, why on earth? It's like no different than them and their music, and not wanting to edit any of their riffs or any of their length down in any capacity. If they had a bare minimum just remove the crib, that would have worked on its own. Like that in itself would have been good enough. Now, with that said, I think that they could have taken it one step further and just picked one of these objects. It doesn't even really matter which one. I personally like, the bear, because it represents innocence and childhood and happiness, right? Which I think is a great dichotomy and a quick direction communication wise to the audience. And so we have our own bear that we're going to, this cute little adorable innocent object, we're going to set this ablaze, and like a phoenix we're going to be reborn, and we're going to reimagine the Metallica's latest album, Grafikmetal style. You must burn. You must burn. Photographed it and then slapped it on there. Again, I still love the all yellow theme. I think that is bold. It's perfect. It also fits with the whole message of eternal light as far as the hidden message, and it also fits with my version of You Must Burn as the title. So I kept that as is. Also was fine with just the M, and the upper right, totally fine with that. Doesn't have to. I tried out the versions where using the full branded mark of Metallica, but either way, totally fine. I like the simplicity of it. So then what I also did was I designed a patch, made it, edited it, exported it, and then slapped it onto the bear, because it almost kind of fits even further with the childhood nature of it, because of the whole oftentimes you got the patch on like the bears. I remember that particularly being the case with those beanie babies, right? Oh man, those beanie babies. It was a crazy time. Nonetheless, what I also thought would be cool though is that, okay, so you have that as is, simple. But then, the plastic wrap goes on, and then you could have either actually inside it. So when you buy it, you get that physical design patch. You could even have two patches. You have the Metallica, maybe a Metallica sticker, for example. Cool, right? So then that can also be like just ever so slightly stuck to it. So this way you could, see it, and actually it acts as then, if they're concerned, right, that just pure artwork would not have drawn enough attention as to what's inside, so to speak, like at a store or when you're purchasing it. Well, then this solves that, right? A backside. So then does it want to design that too? Because as I mentioned in my version, right, I think it was incredibly important for them to just cut it down to 8 tracks. Unpack why I think it's these 8 tracks, along with the ordering, right? So then, and again, I wanted to have fun with the typography. Because again, if you're going to use something so profoundly bold as You Must Burn, you got to use it to your advantage. So I designed it where, again, it's subtly, the type of it is in the background overlay. So the yellow overlaid on the gray, I feel like it works perfectly. It's not too in your face, but it's also legible enough to be able to see it. And then you list out the songs, and again, they're typical classic, sans serif, bold face. And then the rest of the copyright information, the production, who produced the recordings, blackened recordings and things like that. And then again, bring back the logo mark, because they went with just M, it's not even that distracting. I tried the version with the full Metallica again, thinking originally that maybe that would be wise, but I still think that that's too busy. I think this is, I love the simplicity of this. Again, also, yeah, I like it. It was really fun to make, and I'm very curious what do y'all think. So let me know. Aren't you going to talk about the music? Okay. Soapbox related to design and branding. Done. Now back to the music. So, how does it hold up a year later? Same as, honestly, when I first heard it, and every time I've heard it since. Overall, it's okay, but the length and consistent mid-tempo with a huge chunk of the runtime and just ultimately lack of creativity waters it down. But let's unpack each song real quick.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm the only one that has a mic on.
Correct.
How am I supposed to know that?
Dramatic, tamponed by the past, long gone, dogmatic, although the die is cast.
72 Seasons is fine as is. The chorus is amazing. I just still don't like the song title.
Think Ramones. A lot of down picking, a lot of hat, a lot of energy, a lot of pushing, very stabby off the top, which I love.
Shadows Fall. Not a big fan of this one. Screaming Suicide. Pound for pound, the strongest track on the album exactly as is. The length, the editing of it, there's no fluff, it's great. The lyrics are also good, it's powerful, it's emotional.
That's our third song. The intro is probably my favorite intro on the album. It's very tribal, very much a build-up to this kind of energized, old-school, ocean-driven batch of music and riffs. Song represents triple overhead surf, getting your ass kicked.
Sleepwalk My Life Away. Kind of like Now That We're Dead from Hardwired, but with a slick bass line. I just don't think the lyrics are strong enough to keep people's interest.
You Must Burn is actually one of my favorites. Love the riffs in there. The atmosphere that it's created before I go into that long guitar solo at the end is brilliant. And I think those riffs, those group of riffs are some of the best heavy melodic riffs that we've ever written.
You know it. I love it. Don't touch it. I think it's one of the only actually truly creative and unique sounding songs that I've heard from them. Of all of them, it's the most interesting.
Relentless. It reminds me, and it always has, of just that pulsating, constant, relentless sort of riffage. And for me, it's an arm burner. I remember the first time we played this song, actually rehearsed the song, I tried to get away with using a pick. I tried to sneak it in there, and Greg Fiddleman caught it immediately. And he presses the button, he says, Rob, are you using a pick on this one? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why are you doing that? You didn't record it with one. So I was busted. Second time around, got it. I just had to stretch my arm out a bit more. The drive and the energy of a Motorhead song It's old school. I love it.
Exhilaration, frenzy sensation, kindred alliance connected inside.
Turn up. The other great song, Perfect As Is.
Is Crown of Barbed Wire. That's right, people. Number 7. Side splits. You know what a side split is? That's a lot of thought and energy. It may not seem like it, but there's a lot that goes into sequencing.
Love the intro to this song. Love Lars's drumming, kind of sets up the riff. The sets up the riff really cool. And then it just kind of pounds along, kind of For Whom the Bell Tolls vibe for me. I don't know, make up whatever you want about the lyrics. You know, it's kind of a animal god kind of vibe where, you know, sometimes I'm feeling really, really great about myself, and then other times not so much.
It's destiny I wear. It splits the skin to the soul.
Crown of Barbed Wire never should have been on the album.
There's no light.
Chasing Light has one of the best riffs on this album. The opening riff is so energetic and so fun to play. It's just one of those riffs, you know, when James and I play it, it connects. Our guitars just connect with the energy of it, the flow of it.
Yeah, I wanted another song that was similar to, I guess, Fuel, you know, with the vocals starting the song off, which I think is always pretty cool.
Chasing Light, similar to Sleepwalk, where the song is okay, but the lyrics are also just not strong enough. I do, worth noting, I love the way it starts, right, with just the vocal line. If Darkness Had a Son, just cut the first 50 seconds and it's great.
Our playing on this is a lot of fun. Basically, just kind of self-pity, self-reflection, feeling that you're just too crazy to be helped ever. And, you know, am I too far gone? Have I gone too far in my head or in my life, whatever?
Too Far Gone is just like an orgy of heavy riffs and energy, and it's so fun to play.
Too Far Gone. I love the inspiration. Thin Lizzy, dual guitar harmonies, love that. But it's just a mediocre song and the lyrics aren't phenomenal either.
Exposing your true self, you know, how fame can change you, how at the end of the day, when you come back on tour,
Room of Mirrors, along with You Must Burn, is the other like complex, unusual rhythmic pattern and kind of like asymmetrical layout of a song. Is different, and I kind of like that.
She needs me. Oh, but I need her more.
It's called Inamorata. That's right. Just a short little ditty, just quick. Oh wait, hang on. Oh wait, I got that wrong. This is the first Metallica song that goes over 10 minutes.
beautiful song. Probably one of the more beautiful songs that we've ever written together. I feel this song represents, to me, just being in your car, driving along Pacific Coast Highway, you know, convertible, hair in the wind, sun shining on your face, you know, it just reminds me of summertime.
Inamorata, they overthunk this one. It's just okay, and the verdict is out. Everyone seems to agree. It's sure the midsection with Rob's bass line is beautiful, and the ending is good, but you have to sit through way too much mediocreness to get there. And most importantly, it's way too similar to My Friend of Misery. A suggestion that I would have made, which is I think that overall the album should have been edited down specifically to 8 tracks. Just 8. Like the good old days, and even would have had the same length as Master of Puppets. So still plenty of meat on the bone. The tracks and order I personally would have gone with are as follows. Track 1, I would have had Screaming Suicide. I think it's a great starter. Emotional, right? Get right to it. Track 2, You Must Burn. Second track, just like Master of Puppets, it's the second track, also the album title. It also is perfect because it has just that, you know, that wicked bass line, similar to Sad But True. It's a little bit more riff oriented. Lux Eterna works great in the same way. Think Black Album with Holier Than Thou. It picks up the pace right back again. Sleepwalk My Life Away, and in the Inamorata tracks 4 and 5, they kind of slow pace setting, right? If they should have at least allowed it to be an actual pace setting song rather than just throwing it at the end like they did. Track 6, Chasing Light. I love the intro of the vocal line, so it's perfect to kick it back up after the slower, length of Inamorata. Track 7, If Darkness Had a Sun. Same thing. That two-handed punch from the speed to the slower riff-oriented song. And then it ends. Track 8, 72 Seasons, which, is the fastest song and should have ended that way. Overall, they get to have, that classic, bookend with the fast pace. They have balance in between the pace, variety change. And again, 55 minutes and 5 seconds. Perfect. Would have guaranteed, I think, a better interpretation and appreciation for the album. But it gets even better. Because we know how much that they hate letting anything go. They want to use everything. They didn't have to. They didn't have to trash the other songs. What they should have done, similar to what they did with Death Magnetic, release the deluxe edition a year or two later with the 4 new songs. Also perfect and in their best interest, because we know how much they take their precious sweet time releasing new music. So this would have been great to tie over fans, and they could have even got more money out of it. I get it. Metallica is old as hell now. They don't care anymore. Why should they? They have nothing to prove. And almost seem to be proud of how many ideas that they still can come up with. Thinking about it further though, I believe Metallica is also missing the point that they themselves say matters to them. They say that they are so proud to represent being the leaders of metal and honoring the past, present, and future, its community, right? I say they should be wearing that proudly by getting back to what made them, what even got them to arrive at this destination in the first place. Innovation. Innovate. Show rock and metal bands and fans what it should be like, what the process should be. Be proud of that. My biggest complaint of 72 Seasons as a whole is how unoriginal it was. It was just more of the same. Heck, it was even eerily similar to Hardwired. But at least, thank goodness, it was mixed well. We all know. Oh man, at least. Grafikmetal rating gives it the same as I did originally, which is a 74. The merch and designs for them will be available on the Grafikmetal store, description below.
Come on! Are you still here? Yeah!
In case you're wondering, the footage of the songs and Metallica speaking were from the world premiere, which I attended last year. It was a special night experiencing with many, including the director himself, Tim Sekeni. Man, was it great having the opportunity to watch with him, chat, get his take, and getting some behind the scenes inside scoop of experiences working with the band. And yes, he loved working with Metallica. He had glowing remarks to say about them. Felt like they were the most real, authentic, and talented band he had worked with in some time. He mentioned lately it's been, unfortunately, more R&B and rappers, which, you know, given the times, makes sense, sadly, because you mentioned they lack personal skills, to say the least. And you don't get the same raw energy, feeling, and connection to the music like you would with, say, a Metallica, who always come in with enthusiasm, love, play their own music and instruments, which I'll say for myself is a big reason why I love rock and metal so much, right? Which he also mentioned being like just utterly godsmacked by them always, their ability to always be on point. It was like they could just roll out of bed, arrive, and instantly bust out the most vicious of riffs, and their chemistry is off the charts. He particularly called reference to like the sheer volume of jamming grooves and riffs that they would just bust out consistently on a regular basis throughout the sessions. So yeah, it was an amazing night. Getting the chance to experience it with him, I appreciate him for being kind, gracious. The conversations, thoughts, and stories he shared was special. These are strange times, and I don't want to take that for granted. So again, thank you, Tim. The merch and designs for them will be available on the Grafikmetal store, description below. And that was Metallica Reimagined. Until next time, cheers and keep on rocking.